everybody. Welcome back to my modern homestead. I'm so happy you are here. If you are a new subscriber, my name is Janet. And today we're going to keep working on peaches. If you saw my video from yesterday, we made vanilla peaches. So today I'm going to use the scraps and we're going to make peach scrap jelly. So I've got everything here that I need. So I'm going to go ahead and get that together. I'm going to measure out my sugar, measure out my juice. I have 8 cups of juice, but one recipe only calls for 4 cups. I don't want to take a chance and double my jelly recipe because they're notorious for not setting when you do that. So I'm just biting the bullet and just going with one recipe at a time. So I'm going to measure out my sugar, measure out the juice, and this is how I like to can. I like to have everything all together before I get started. I have my jars already heating on the stove. We have our rings. I have a place to put my jelly once it's done. We have a bowl and a spoon to scrape off any foam if we need to. I already have my jar lifter. This is for measuring out the sugar. I don't have the measuring cup for the juice, but that's all right. Sorry, my dogs are being noisy in the background. Our foam. Oh my goodness. We have our lids, and I have my pectin already open. And we don't want hair in this recipe, so I even have my rubber band. I'm going to get my hair up and we're going to get busy. Let's go. And I even already have my napkin already wet. And it's here, just in case you're wondering why is there a random napkin laying there, and my towel to put in my jars. So let's measure out the sugar. For this recipe, we need 5½ cups of sugar. This recipe, guys, I thought was on my blog, but I went to find it and it was not. I don't know what happened there. So it's been a while, but I've seen recipes all over the place. I've seen 3 cups of juice and sugar. So we're going with the 5½ cups of sugar to, what was that, 2? 3, hold on, 4, 5, and ½ cups. We're just going with this one. So we'll see what happens. Now, all we need to do is measure out our juice. Yeah, I keep it in the microwave. That's where we make tea, so that's just where it lives. Let's see if I can do this without making a mess. Ooh, look at me go. So far, so good. Look how pretty the color is. All right, there's our 4 cups of juice. We're going to leave this here in case I like making another batch when this one is done. So, into our pot, we will add the juice. The pectin. This can be difficult. Sometimes it wants to clump. You can use a whisk because you're putting this powder into this big pot of juice. Hold on, let me get my whisk. There we go, not so bad that time. Now, let's put this on the stove. We can put a pat of butter in there with this. It's supposed to help with the foaming. I don't know if it does or not. But anyway, make sure you use a big enough pan because this will bubble up big time. We're going to take our sugar over, our pot over, because we're going to pour this in all at once. So let's go. All right, I have just this little pat of butter left. You don't want to use more than a teaspoon. Let's just get it in there. This way. To do is stir and bring this up to a boil, a rolling boil, and that's of oil that is, once it comes up, you can't stir it down. And then when that happens, we will pour in the sugar all at once. So we will see you in just a minute. While we're waiting on this to come up to a boil, let me show you how we got the juice. Okay, now here are some of the peels and pits from the peaches we just processed. I am not going to waste this. I'm going to cover this with a little bit of water, and we will boil it for 10 minutes, and then we will let it sit for at least 8 hours. You can let it go overnight, and we will use the liquid from this to make peach jelly. It is so good. Waste not, want not. Now, it's been a couple of years since I've done this, but this should give us enough liquid to make 2 batches of jelly. Yum! Hey, I thought I should show you what's going on. It is 2 o'clock in the morning. I was so tired I fell asleep sitting straight up, but I just wanted to show you. I wanted to put my peach juice up. So what I'm doing is just gathering some juice. I got so low it's hard to show you now. I'm trying to gather juice in the ladle and pouring it over cheesecloth just to strain it. It's hard to do on my own, but anyway, as you can see, I've got 4 cups. That's enough for 1 batch, but I believe we've got plenty for 2 batches. So I'm just going to finish this and put it in the refrigerator until, I guess, later on today. Well, here we go. I had more than enough. I didn't even ladle it all out of the pan, but just what I did ladle, there's still some there. So anyway, this is ready to go when we're ready to make jelly. I will just put it in the refrigerator. Too cool, wasn't it? Now we are almost at a rolling boil. It's hard to see with all this steam. Oh, really? Just a second. And then we're going to add in the jelly. Sorry, not add in the jelly, add in the sugar. I'm getting too big of a hurry and I can't think. Okay, we're there now, so see how the bubbles are not stirring down? We have our 5½ cups of sugar, so we're just going to pour them all in at one time. Pour it all in at one time. Stir, stir, stir. Bring it back up to, oh my goodness, that smell just hit me. It smells so good. We're going to stir, stir, stir. Bring it back to a rolling boil. And then when we get back to a rolling boil, we will set the timer for 1 minute. And that's it. The jelly will be done. If your juice is really hot when you pour the sugar in, this only takes usually a few seconds to come back to a rolling boil. So whatever you do, don't stop stirring. Guys, I don't know if this color is showing. Yeah, it is. Oh, this color is beautiful. And this will foam up a lot. At least it usually does. So make sure your pot's big enough. And if you have to, you can turn it down, but don't lose your full boil. This is almost back to a rolling boil. Now, peaches have a lot of pectin in them naturally. And I can tell already that hopefully we're going to have no less than a really thick syrup. But hopefully it will be a really nice jelly, because it already feels almost like Jell-O that's trying to set. Can you see the bubbles in the middle? They are not stirring down. Give it just a couple more seconds. There we go. And I'm going to set the timer for 1 minute. Almost there, just a few more seconds. My last jelly I made boiled all the way to the top and I had to pick the pan up off of the stove. Thankfully this one is not doing that. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Turn the stove off and we're going to move it back to the counter. Okay, we're at the counter. I'm going to let this sit for just a second and I'm going to pull the jars out of the hot water. Alrighty, can you see the foam that's on top of here? I'm just going to take my spoon and just skim it off. Oh yeah, that's what you like to see. You like for it to make a sheet, that way you know your jelly is already trying to set up. And taking this foam off will give you a nice clear jelly when you're done. You don't have to throw this foam away, you can eat it. Alright, most of the foam is out, so let's get this jarred up. We're going to fill our jars to 1/2 inch headspace. Now guys, I'm going to be honest, I usually go less than a half inch. I usually go about 1/4 because when I take my jellies to fairs, if I don't fill it that full, it shrinks down once it cools. And my jars are not full enough, but this cannot be entered into the fair, so I'm not too worried. Ooh, hot tamales. You guys, look how pretty. Some of these got just a little bit of foam in the top. I'm really not going to worry about it. It gave way more jelly than I thought it would. What do I have? 5, 6, 7 half-pint jars. So I don't think I'm actually going to do another batch. I don't need 14 jars of jelly. Peach jelly. All I'm doing is wiping the rims to get any excess jelly off. And now let's put on our lids. I'm so excited. This is beautiful. And it's already setting up, so I'm not worried about it not making jelly. All we will do is get these on and get the lids on and process it for 10 minutes. Alrighty, got all the lids on. Let's put on the rings. Finger tight, push down, and when it starts turning, it's tight enough. Make sure it's on before it starts turning. Alright, there's our last jar. Let's put these in the canner. We'll be ready to go. Let me turn up my heat. Take this one out. Okay, now the water doesn't quite cover these jars, so I'm going to add a little more water And then we'll put the lid on. All right, let's talk about processing times. Some people don't process their hot jellies at all. They just sterilize their jars, put hot jelly into hot jars. Now, I have seen instructions for this jelly anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. I'm hitting middle of the road. I'm doing 10. 10 is enough to sterilize this because I did not sterilize my jars first. And I don't know if I've even seen a jelly, maybe one, maybe cranberry, that processes for 15. 10 minutes is plenty. So let's put the lid on, and when this comes back to a rolling boil, we will set the timer for 10 minutes. Alrighty, let's turn this off, and then we will move it off of this eye and take off the lid. Remember, when you take the lid off, to open away from you, let all that steam escape and not hit you and burn you. There we go. Now at this point, we will just leave this here and let the water become completely still. We don't want any bubbles, any movement. And when it's completely still, then we can take these out and it'll be wonderful. We'll be right back. Okay, what I'm going to do is lift up the rack. And to do this, I have to use my baby gloves so I can touch this hot metal. Try not to knock my jars over. Really ought to be able to make these a little bit better and easier. All right, there's that one. All right. And there went a jar. Activator gloves, so you can set it up. All right, let's get these over to cool. There we go, guys. We have our 7 pints of beautiful peach jelly. I cannot get over the color. And yes, we've already tasted it and it is delicious. So I can't wait for my husband to come home and try it. And you guys, I appreciate you so much for joining me. Oh, in the extra 4 cups of juice, I am going to take that to my friend Morgan. We're going to get together later on in the week and I'm going to help her with her peaches. And she's got a big family, so I'm hoping that will make things a little bit easier and have a nice treat for her. Hope she enjoys it. So until we meet again, guys, I love you and I hope and pray that you are blessed. See you next time.